Okay, so as you guys can tell by the title, we are going to be talking about One Punch Man chapter 162 predictions and what I think could happen in the next chapter of One Punch Man. Now, if you guys don't know, I feel like the times where I make prediction videos are actually like my favorite time of week, because if you guys don't know, One Punch Man right now in the manga is pretty hard to predict. Like, as a series, One Punch Man isn't the easiest to predict anyway, but I feel like now, especially once we're getting to like the climax of the, Monster Association, and since it's the manga continuity, since, I guess webcomic readers should know what should happen in the end, the manga is, kind of taking its own path, and it's not exactly as easy to predict as many of you manga onlys think webcomics can, if that makes any sense. And I feel like that's pretty good, because I feel like if a series is too predictable, it gets a bit boring, and etc etc. That's why series like Baki are some of my favorite series ever. So anyway, that's besides the point. Before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new, because if you guys can't already tell, I post quite a lot of One Punch Man content, and if you guys like One Punch Man just like me, then this place is like a heaven for you, heaven that is on YouTube, I guess. But anyway, let's just get into the video. Alright, so we have quite a few things to talk about, to be honest. I kind of firstly want to talk about Garous Awakening, because I'm sure that's what a lot of people want to know. I'm also going to be talking about, I guess, what's going to happen next, whether or not Saitama and Garou will happen in the next chapter, which I'm sure a lot of you guys probably already know the answer to that, but I'm just going to go into, I guess, a little bit more detail in that section. And of course, I'm going to be going over, I guess, what's going to be happening to Tario, since that's kind of, I guess, the teaser that we got in the last panel of the, I guess, latest chapter, which was chapter 161. And if my voice sounds a bit weird, it's because I just woke up. But anyway, let's just start off with, I guess, Garous Awakening. Now, as you guys know, in the last chapter, we got a bit of, I guess, action between Saitama versus Garou. I'm not sure if I can actually call it action, because it was a pretty short exchange in terms of, like, I guess, the fighting aspect of it, because most of it was pretty much them just exchanging words and exchanging ideas and everything. So last chapter was pretty interesting, and we got that, I guess, Saitama got to punch Garou, which I guess was, the signaling for his awakening, his full awakening, you could say, because right now Garou is in like a weird kind of middle area between, I guess, pre-awakened Garou and fully awakened Garou. But I guess there's not really a fan term for this. It's just kind of, I guess, current Garou. That's what I see a lot of people saying, and that's personally what I say as well. But anyway, I'm pretty sure we're gonna see fully awakened Garou in the next chapter, or we're gonna get like some hints towards that. I'm guessing we might get like one panel of Garou like showing that he's kind of, I guess, in a weird position, kind of in a near-death experience, just like how he was after his fight against Darkshine, and how he declared that he wanted to be like a monster that struck fear into monsters and humans alike. I'm pretty sure everyone knows that time, because it was a pretty iconic panel where Garou was like eating monsters and scaring all the people away. It's going to be up on the screen right now for you guys to see, but I'm sure Garou will be in a similar position to that in this next chapter, maybe, or in the chapter after this one, because I'm sure Garou can't just get up from a Saitama punch. I mean, it's not something that we see every day, and I'm pretty sure Saitama did like a fully, he had, his fists were closed and it looked like a solid punch. So I'm sure this is gonna be this thing that's gonna awaken Garou fully, I guess, into his first stage of his fully awakening form. I guess you webcomic readers know what I'm talking about, because Garou technically did have more than one form in his fully awakened form. I hope that makes sense. But moving on, I guess we could also talk about, I guess, as I said before, whether or not Saitama versus Garou could happen in the next chapter. And personally, I'm pretty sure we all know that this is just not going to happen. I see a lot of people asking me in the comments, when is this going to happen? When is the final fight going to happen? I hope it happens in the next chapter. I'm sure it's going to happen in the next chapter. And all I can really say to that is, I don't want to get your hopes up, because I genuinely don't think it's going to happen in the next chapter, because I don't feel like there's enough hype built, behind this whole fight. There needs to be more substantial hype. There needs to be, obviously Garou into his final awakened form, which he's not in just yet. We also need to see Garou versus the S-Class. I feel like we still need some more, I guess, a final god appearance. Not like a god appearance, but a god interference, you could say. We need God to do one more thing just before we finally get to, fully awaken Garou versus Saitama. But of course, that kind of feeds into my next thing that I'm going to be talking about, which is, I guess, what's going to be happening with Tario. Now, personally, I've seen a lot of people talk about Tario being, I guess, manipulated by God, or God manipulating Garou into thinking Tario is dead, etc., etc., or putting Tario in danger to, fully trigger Garou and finally for him to go crazy. But as I said before, this is a pretty interesting theory, and I do want to go, I guess, into depth with this even more. I know a lot of you guys might think God is finished for this arc and he's just going to be watching from above, but personally I feel like God still has to do one more thing. And I feel like, as many of, the community has theorized, that obviously he's going to have something to do with Tario, and he's going to influence Garou into, fully awakening even further, which I guess is another theory. Saitama's punch might not even be like the sole reason for Garou's awakening. We might see God like fuel the awakening even more and make it even more like more like a trigger for him to get to his final form, if that makes sense. Now, of course, the reason why I feel like we might get the whole God and Tario thing in the next chapter is solely because we saw, the helicopter and everyone getting out of it in the last chapter. So it would make, complete sense for that to be covered in the next chapter. And I would be surprised if we don't get some coverage about Tario, because believe it or not, Tario is a pretty important part, or he's a pretty important character in the entire Monster Association arc. So if he wasn't, received, or he doesn't get a status update after so long of seeing him in, on screen, I'll be pretty surprised, because we are getting to the final stages of the arc, and Tario does play a big part, as I said before, in the final stages, or even in the whole arc in general. But anyway, I feel like that's pretty much all I have to say for the predictions for the next chapter. I like to make these short and sweet, or not too long, because the more I talk about it, the more crazy theories come up, and the more, likelihood that my predictions are wrong. And it's not like my predictions being wrong is a bad thing, because, being able to predict a series easily isn't necessarily, it's not necessarily a good sign. So, I mean, if I get it wrong, whether I get it wrong or right, it doesn't really affect me. I just feel like making these videos because I feel like it's a good way to, just bring up discussion within the community and talk about, what could happen next, and just, kind of like a catalyst for more theories, because you guys actually have some interesting theories that I genuinely do find interesting. That's pretty much it. And apart from that, if you like the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And apart from that, I'll see you in my next video.